What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to help out the channel, additionally you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to all of my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, you can always use that TCGplayer link in the description down below if you want to help the channel out. Now let's get into today's Deck Tech with Ellie and Alan. Guys, these guys are kind of busted. We're going to run it as a looter strategy, a bunch of low to the ground creatures that just draws cards and discards cards. We're going to try to discard cards like Draco, and using our commander, we're going to try to get Apex Devastator for free. Notably, our commander does cast the card, so Cascade, we're allowed to use that. Another thing we can kind of do that's busted in the deck is play Emoti. Now all of our 6 CMC spells additionally have Cascade. This deck can kind of just throw the library onto the battlefield very fast, especially when we throw stuff like Intruder Alarm in there. Let me know in the comments down below if you think Intruder Alarm is casual, because what's going to happen is you're going to exile a card from your graveyard, you're going to throw or cast a creature from the top of your library onto the battlefield, and it's going to untap all your looters, including our commander, and then we can just draw, discard more cards, and do that again. I've played my library this way. Let me know if you think that's casual down below, but hey, if you want to get into this insane deck tech, let's get into it. We're going to start the deck off fun by talking about the bombs we added to it. Arcanus is going to be solid. All we have to do is tap him to draw 3 cards. Ancient Silver Dragon, again, a huge card draw engine. AC also fits this role of just insane value. Emoti and Apex Devastator. Now, Emoti is going to be amazing because our commander is on cast, so we actually get to cast those spells that we discover. Now, all of our 6 drops are going to immediately cascade. This can result in some crazy turns. Apex Devastator is just busted in this deck since, again, you do cast on discover. Coma Cosmos Serpent can just take control of a game, especially when you pair Coma with Kamal. Now, all of those serpents are going to be massive, and they have trample. Avacyn Angel of Hope is another solid one that just takes control of a game. Ancient Gold Dragon can create an instant board state. Nyxbloom Ancient can give us near infinite mana. Emiria Shepherd's just a solid way to recur cards from our graveyard or just throw cards onto the battlefield. Serac and Goreclaw are going to be super important in the deck. This deck can just vomit its entire library onto the battlefield, so we will need haste to then win after that. We don't want to invite our opponents to a board wipe after we, again, cast all the creatures in our deck. I then have a very necessary category I labeled trash. These are going to be the cards we want to discard with our looters. That way we can easily discover our bombs. Draco, just a solid 16 drop that we can discard. We have Earthquake Dragon, a 15 drop. This worm, like its name, is also unimportant. We're throwing it straight in the trash. Throsta and Galta are actually castable in this deck, so it's very easy to cast Galta, sack it to greater good, draw a ton of cards, and discard more bombs to the graveyard. Throsta can kind of do the same thing because this deck can storm off, Triplicate Titan, and Phyrexian Tritiform. Again, we're probably never casting these, but in a pinch we can, and then sack them to greater good, and that's going to give us 9 cards. Not to mention we can then sack all the tokens, and we're just going to draw and discard more cards, getting exactly what we want in our graveyard. Now let's get into what makes this deck actually work. The looters. Merfolk Looter, Looter Ilkor, and Thought Courier are all very standard loot abilities that we really want to draw into early game. Magus of the Bazaar is also pretty solid. This deck can draw a lot of cards, so we really don't mind taking the negative on that as long as we can discard what we need to discard, which is our trash pieces. Cephalid Broker, again, a way to draw a ton of cards and get multiple trash pieces into the graveyard. Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel. Not only is this guy going to be really solid in this deck because of the loot ability, we're also going to get an additional way to cast those giant creatures for free. Shirarkai is one of the best looters here. You're going to draw 2 cards, discard 1, and you can start creating a board state. Unctus is going to be an amazing way to double up on all of our loot effects while additionally turning all of our blue attackers into looters. Ledger Shredder, another solid looter. Mask of the Schemer, we have some massive creatures in this deck, so it's just going to be solid to attack with an Apex Devastator, draw 10 cards, and discard 10 cards, filling our graveyard full of all of those trash pieces. Jason's Archivist is a solid way to just wheel once a turn. Windfall will also see play in this deck. Fauna Shaman is going to be amazing in the deck. You will need to grab some specific creatures to make her work, but I will explain what to grab later in this video. Curious Follower is going to be solid. It's basically a looter that's a mana dork that can untap our commander as well. Greater Good, again, sacrificing those massive creatures to discard exactly what we want into our graveyard, it's going to be amazing. And last but not least, we have a solid way to loot on a land. It is for everybody, but hey, we'll take that. Moving on to the core of the deck, we have Intruder Alarm. Guys, this one might deserve a cut here because it's just not that casual. Every time I have cast Intruder Alarm while goldfishing, I have very easily cast my entire library with the looting effects, with the mana dorks, with our commander. It's very easy just to discard exactly what we need to in our graveyard, generate almost infinite mana, and get off enough creatures to win the game on the spot. Reclaim, Noxious Revival, these are going to be very solid cards to take the card that we want our commander to hit and put it on top of our library. Then we easily go ahead and use our commander's ability on a creature with bigger CMC, and it just guarantees that we get exactly what we want. Honored Physician is 100% that card you're going to grab with the Fauna Shaman. Now you can easily take all the cards you're tutoring for and discarding, throw them on top of your library, and use your commander's ability to cast them for free. Chew Lane is an insane engine in the deck. This is one of the other ways with Intruder Alarm, you just get a ton of value. I've also been very pleased with Derevi here. She's going to untap all of your looters, going to untap your commanders, your land, anything you want untapped, Derevi can make it happen. Monster Manual's in here just in case we have some of those bombs in our hand early game. We can easily play Monster Manual and get them out of our hand. The Great Hinge is going to be amazing in this deck. We're only ever going to pay 2 mana for it, and additionally we're going to get some extra ramp and card advantage off of it. Moving on to ramp, surprise surprise, we have more tappers with Bloom Tinder and Fairburrow Elder. Super solid cards to just add 3 mana to our mana pool. We can even use Derevi to untap them. Savala, Heart of the Wilds, this girl can generate a ton of mana and draw some cards. We are playing some massive creatures in the deck, so it's not insane to assume that we will trigger her a couple times in a game. Farseek, Nature's Lure, 3 visits, just very solid cards to get early game ramp on the battlefield. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach, I've been loving these cards lately. Just the fact that it guarantees your next land drop is kind of insane and underrated. Soul Ring is also going to make an appearance, surprise surprise, and then we have a Rick Smithies, another tapper that can generate mana, and also this guy's massive. Sacrificing this guy to a greater good to draw 12 cards and then discard 4 trash cards can very easily set us up for the rest of the game. Moving on to our interaction, we have an Offer You Can't Refuse, Swan Song, just some solid counter spells. Swords to Plowshare is just going to be very efficient removal. We do have Generous Gift and Beast Within as well. They're just going to get rid of any permanent that is causing issues. Bane of Progress is super solid. It's becoming a staple in my opinion. There's way too much artifacts / enchantment decks lately, and the only way to stop them and really slow them down is a mass board wipe. Azuri's Predation has continued to put in a ton of work for me. I do play in kind of a token heavy meta, but again, who doesn't? This card can cause an explosive game turning play that causes you to win the game. Austere Command is just super flexible. We do run a lot of high costed creatures, so the fact that we can hate out artifacts, enchantments, and token strategies all in one card, I love this card. That's going to do it for the deck tech, guys. Hey, if you enjoyed and you've got time for another one, this Indoraptor build is insane. Definitely one of my most favorite builds from me this year. So definitely go check it out if you've got a chance. Last but not least, I would like to thank all my patrons. I couldn't do it without you guys. I appreciate every one of you, and as always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors. I'll see you in the next one.